Carson. Or should I say, Molrogh. You're 14 and a fool when they catch you. Lanky with long, wild limbs you seem barely to control. The grip of the city guard gauntlets is cold on your arms as they march you to their grim, dingy station. Come along with us, boy. You've seen kids your age be pugnacious and grim in the face of authority. You've seen them try to play cool for the city guard. You've seen tears well up in their eyes and they play the crying card. You're 14. What do you do?
Fuck you! He kicks at one of them immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Kicks at him and is resisting as they're pulling on him, and he's like trying to bite like one of their hands behind, like, you know, trying to get some purchase.
Amazing. Yeah, this city guard, this is a drow like you in some armor with a badge. He goes, oh boy, what is that about? So he's gonna try and, you know, he's gonna, you know, sort of smack you upside the head. But they keep dragging you into this station, and eventually, I don't know how much you continue to struggle, but eventually get you down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sat down.
I think at 14, even at 14, very shrimpy, not very difficult to deal with.
Yeah,
just pretty wily. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's this like little bit of ferocity in your eyes. They sit you down, and these two guys who brought you in are sort of like swearing at each other. One of them's like, "Get like an infection from this." Looking at on his hand.
I should hope.
He stares at you angrily. A city watchman, a sort of captain, comes in and sits down in front of you. He's got a little bit of a belly, but he's got a kind face, big beard.
So these are city watch. Sorry, just in my head. These are drow.
These are
like
drow.
Me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
they're like
great.
you.
Thank
yep.
you.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Darkish skin. Yeah. It's just a classic drow look. You haven't yet seen an Aelfir in the station. You're put inside this like dingy, dark building with a few like flickering sort of bulbs. There is a little bit of technology in this world. It's a mix of like actually sort of an electric bulb and then sort of like arcane glowing stones that are used to light the place. He sits down and sort of smiles at you and he says, "You know, this is not the sort of mischief I usually respond to."
Oh, really?
No. He holds up a bag, which is sort of stained with both something liquid and a little bit of fire. He says, "This is goat droppings. Mm-hmm. They were set on fire and thrown onto the front porch of an Aelfir lord in Amrath."
Yeah, I'm not surprised you recognized it, considering you kiss so much ass.
Oh. All right. He looks at you and like surprisingly, like one of them is like pissed and is like about to like come around and grab you, and the other guy stops him and he goes, "Do you have a name, boy?"
Yeah. Oh, you want to know it? Oh, okay. It's Molrogh.
No, gotcha. Look, I was trying to be polite. That's a little bit of that formation when I'm just saying, "You got a name," as opposed to saying, "What's your name?" Because I could say that too, you know. I could have this truncheon here. I could smack you right over the head. I could put a nice little crack in that little egg of yours. Look, I don't... You seem a good lad. You seem a smart lad, is what I'll say. Not necessarily good, but you seem smart. But you know what the price can be for mischief like this? As you're silent, you can see through a far window, sort of like the big like interrogation room window, a figure steps in behind. A tall, beautiful Aelfir. The Aelfir are light-skinned. They have these like multicolored, beautiful eyes. There's a sort of radiance, like the clothes sort of float a little bit as they step in. They look pissed. They sort of fold their arms as they look at you. And you see also that the face is covered. The Aelfir always wear masks. This is part of their culture. This is, you know, the revealing of one's face among the Aelfir is an act of extreme intimacy, and even then is not usually considered a thing. The watchman looks at you and says, "Look, here's what I think can happen here. If you can put on, I think you're, like I said, you're smart. I think you can perform a little bit here. If you can put on the right degree of remorse, you can apologize a little bit here. I think you can walk away from this fully intact, not Not any better, but not too much worse. What do you think of that?
Do you think goat shit was just like too high, like quality?
Oh, he says, all right. And he stands up and walks out.
Yeah.
We're gonna flash forward from this. Boom.
Great.
This after this moment, I guess let's get a couple images, right? Like, I think we have the moment of like Molrogh in like some cuffs. We have like looking up as like paperwork is signed by people. Your durance has been officially started 3 years early and will last an additional 3 years. The punishment here is pretty intense. You end up in a pretty rough like working labor situation. I don't know what are like, so you got this, like you end up down in the works, like shoveling coal, doing stuff. What are some flashes of what that looks like moments of what Molrogh might be doing in those moments?
Yeah, I think Molrogh rolls into this situation, this durance, for the first few weeks, maybe even months, with the same like attitude that you've seen him throw at the the powers that be. And I think there are flashes of just like consistent knocking that off, like even down to like punishments, beatings, extra shifts. There's like, I'm getting other people in trouble who are then also beating the shit out of me. Like, I think there's a lot of that kind of thing going on. By like 5 or 6 months in, I think Molrogh starts to look like a pretty model laborer, aside from the fact that he is still pretty trimpy, even with all of the like labor that's going on, which only makes him more difficult. So like flashes of some of that. But I think we also pick up a little bit. I think it looks pretty bleak about halfway through the first year, even like 6 months in.
I love that, and I imagine there's this moment where this, like, it's not even like a truncheon, it's maybe just like an arcane bit of energy used by an Aelfir labor master who sort of like in midair, and you feel your forearm snap. Like the bone is just like severed in the moment of like whatever this punishment is. And stepping in between you and this Aelfir is a big beefy kid named Dalio, who you've seen around and who you've helped sneak some food. Dalio steps in between you and says, look, stop it. Just leave him alone. I can pick up the work for him, all right? And he looks back at you. Look, tell him I can pick it up for you.
Okay. Just like in pain and not like shock at the gesture here. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and the Aelfir like sends Dalio up against the wall, like this crack appears in this stone from him smacking into it. The Aelfir leaves you alone. Dalio sort of goes up to you and goes, You all right?
Yeah. Are you? You didn't have to do that.
I'm honestly great. I'm honestly so good. Things are fine. Spits out a tooth.
Okay.
He picks you up. Oh yeah, good.
Yeah. I'm here. I get and I'll, try like lamely to try to assist, I guess, feeling guilty about this.
Yeah, no, and you're able to get up. He pushes up and goes, oh man, oh wow. You're sharp, man. You're sharp. You're gonna get out of here,
That seems, look at this place. Nobody gets out of here.
No, I see it. Look, the thing is, they're so full of shit. I mean, you know this. You told me about that with the goat shit. I laugh about that every day. But look, if you can just trick them into thinking that you're like them, as much as you make them know how much you hate them, it's going to turn everything around, And you could just be sneaking it to them. But now what you're doing, you're just telling them all what you're doing. Instead, just don't tell them, that's sort of my theory. You could just not tell them.
That sounds crazy.
Great. Fast forward, boom, another little bit through a few more years. I'm thinking to jump pretty far, if that's cool with you.
Sure.
Let's say 10 years, 10, 12 years.
Fantastic.
You're standing in the estate of a drow, of an Aelfir lady.
Mm-hmm.
This is Lady Tallow crying upon firmament. She is, you served her mother for a while, this old lady, the dowager, who, she was rough. But now you're sitting at this mansion. There's a big table. There's 25 people here. There's a bunch of serving folk around. You are a servant. You are wearing a mask that is sort of almost featureless. There's sort of a standard drow servant mask that is sort of the norm of what's known.
Mm-hmm.
But you are standing there, and at one point, Lady Tallow calls you over to her from across the room where you've been serving stuff.
Of course.
And you maybe let's say this is out on like a big sort of like balcony thing. There's like a fancy like day that they're having. The sun is shining down, and so all of the drow are covered up head to toe in stuff. You've got like big, broad, like sort of rice hats kind of thing, keeping yourself protected from the sun. She goes, "Is that you, Molrogh, under all those layers?"
Yes, my lady.
I don't like you covered up so much. It makes you seem like some weird attendant priest or bodyguard, not a manservant at all. It really is. It's not befitting your stature. I'm very sorry that you've had to deal with this.
Oh, it has been my pleasure to serve, to do whatever you require.
My mother adored you. I know it's only been a few months that we've been together, but listen. She points down the table. There is an old woman who is eating very officiously. You know her. This is Lady Noreen. Note that down. And her son sitting next to her is Odo, O-D-O. She looks at them. Noreen is sort of gossiping a little bit, and Odo is looking sort of haughty. He's this sort of shrimpy Aelfir. Usually the Aelfir are quite beautiful, but he's not looking too great. And she says, "Here's the thing, Lady Noreen, she's just a rat, stealing whatever scrap she can before her deeds and her poverty catch up with her. See, she's been spreading rumors about me. She's been making me look quite terrible, in fact. And I think it would just be karmic, one might say, if something were to happen to that runt son of hers."
My lady?
Oh, nothing.
Say no more. Say no more. I understand these things can be quite difficult, and you need not dirty your hands, proverbially speaking. I can take care of this for you.
She nods at you, takes a little glass that you've got on a tray, and says, "Thank you, Molrogh." And she drinks.
Great.
What do you do?
Fantastic. Sorry, I need this. So Lady Noreen and Odo is the...
This is the son.
Is the son.
Yeah, he's going to inherit. He's got some influence, but
fantastic.
This is a big dinner. This is a big party. It's probably lasting like a day or two. It's sort of like this, I don't know, like people are staying over at this mansion for something.
Right.
So you've got some windows of opportunity.
I will excuse myself from kind of the main halls here with permission and confidence that my lady has sent me on a mission. And what I'd basically just like to do is arrange for, I think I will leave the premises and I will descend into the Spire somewhere where I can find somebody kind of poor and willing to do something a little bit crazy.
Totally. Yeah.
And I will arrange something.
Great. Yeah. Within the Silver Quarter, you're able to find a good number of drow who have like gambled away a little bit more than they should have and are sort of like looking for a way to do something desperate. There's also some humans who you could interact with. The humans have short lifespans and they're not as actively oppressed as the drow, but still exist as sort of secondary classes to the Aelfir.
Fantastic. I think speaking to some of the drow, I'll settle in if I can find a human that looks like they might need a little helping hand. Yeah.
His name is Marcus.
Great. We'll talk about, you know, some introductions, and please, I have a job that could put good coin in your pocket, that could leave you, certainly a hell of a lot better than you are here.
That'd be great. He's like a little bit like in this alleyway, getting himself together, tucks his shirt to his pants. He says, anything for an Aelfir servant. I mean, for a Aelfir
please,
attendant.
Please, anything for a friend will be fine.
Yeah. Anything for a friend. Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry that this is sort of a last minute, but we do need to move. And
my schedule's wide open. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm going to take Marcus back up to this party. We're going to stand outside at some distance, and we'll sit here and stand with Marcus for a bit. Marcus, do you have any family?
Like my brother and his wife, they live down in the works, but I don't taught them very much these days. Yeah.
Marcus, what I'm going to ask you to do may land you in a spot of trouble, if I'm being honest with you. But I want you to know that I will do everything in my power to make sure it doesn't. And I want you to know that your family will be well looked after, should you be able to do this quietly, discreetly, or if you are caught, that you will keep this to yourself.
Yeah, he looks at you like this. You've got this livery with like a great house's symbol on your back, and this man is in a desperate situation. He trusts you.
Great.
He's on board. Yeah.
Fantastic. And basically, I'm just going to instruct him, tell him who this Odo is. If you need any more from this, but I think essentially this is what this looks like, and we get him set up. I get his information for his family down in the works.
Sure.
And I leave him to his business. I pull a long dagger out of my, not a dagger, a long kind of a pistol, per se, not a fine looking one. I would never want this to be traced back to us, but
sure.
And I will give it to him, and I will instruct him on what to do.
Yeah, great, cool. And what does he do when the moment arrives?
He does it. How I imagine this going. Sorry,
Please.
No,
This is it. Yeah.
Not to intrude on the GM.
No, please.
But how I imagine this going is that this happens. It's one of those, like, he approaches very nervously, cautiously. It doesn't look like it's going to happen until finally he goes for it. And I think there's enough like whip up about like, Aelfir kind of suck or whatever, and this will be good for me and my family, and I'll be looked after, and this will be good. And so he gets up into there, and I think he close ranges shoots this guy. Through the chest, so blasts him.
Totally.
I think it becomes pretty obvious that he is detained and carried off, At which point I instruct some other lower servants to get me some connections with where he has gone to make sure that this is not traced back.
Yeah.
And then I think the final moment of this, however that happens, I think is fine. But the final moment of this is arranging some, like a package of goods and some money to be sent into the works to his family.
Cool. Yeah, legit. Yeah, I like it.
And,
so if I'm if I'm understanding correctly, like there's a moment where like maybe one of the other servants, this young girl who like you can trust with anything, she's just so loyal, delivers a cup of tea to the guy as he's still being detained. He's about to be taken away. He drinks it, and 2 days later in prison, he dies.
Yes. It's like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think reporting back to Lady Tallow.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate what happened to Odo. I think we should send some condolences, perhaps. That might be meaningful to the lady.
She just like grins openly at you. You're in this private setting, and she says, "Oh, you're good."
Good.
And that's the end of our scene. Ooh, so yeah, so I got a couple little moments in here. Just two little scenes. Well, I'm just interested in this. Like, Lady Tallow eventually asks you to manage her ledgers, though she inspects them monthly, so she still keeps an eye on them. But you're given the silver key to her study. You see rivers of money pour in and out of her estate. Donations to political friends, hush money to people with dirt. What does Molrogh do with this information? I'm curious, like, is there a visual? Like, does he have a journal? Does he just have this great memory? Does he have a code? What does he do? Or does he keep the information? Does he... Yeah.
No, I think there is a key. Like there is like the ledger work is spotless. As much as it can be. And I think there's also like a personal like bound thing that he has with him as well of that he might be jotting down in some of his private quarters and things like that. Cool. But the books come up spotless every month. Molrogh has a little extra jingle in his pocket every month.
Yep.
Nobody seems to be able to or even like discern that this is necessarily going on, but why would they? I'm so good at my job running the ledgers.
Yeah, there's a point where Lady Tallow starts asking you. She says, "Look, you have all this money. I just want to see a piece of jewelry. Buy something. Do something." She just like a little bit wants you to use the money you've given her.
My lady, for myself.
Yeah, you need some indulgences.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have I embarrassed you in my? I imagine this is like another 10 years later, and there's a little bit of like more friendliness to like make that joke.
Totally. Yeah. Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Totally. She goes,
but of course, you go.
Yeah. No. She laughs at you and goes, do what you will.
Of course, as always. And will do that. The next time she sees me, I have like a fine, like, robe and a like a nice piece of metal somewhere on me. I mean, it's like a big brooch.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That's great. Yeah, and she loves it.
Great.
All right, another little scene. A drow servant stumbles down the steps into the cellar. His hands are bound, and so it cries out, "Oh, mother, preserve me!" He's a man in his 30s, well-kept beard, a little vain. He's a servant in her household. The mask falls from off his face and cracks in half on the stone floor of the mansion. You stand at the top of the stairs. Lady Tallow, who's standing on the other side of the door from you, you're just like heads right next to each other, says, "Remember, Molrogh, I'm not my mother. I don't care how much he hurts now. I won't take pleasure in screaming. I want him to learn the lesson forever. Do it as you see fit." She winks and closes the door.
Okay, fantastic. I'll play a little bit at first with, in case there's any prying ears at the door with, well, my lady has seen fit to offer you some fashion of grace, do we call it? In putting me in charge, though you are undeserving, and like still I'm certain they're alone that's going on. What does he say?
Yeah, he says, look, I didn't mean it. The bottle was half full, and she was going to dispose of it. Do you know how much a glass of it will go for in the
And I'll like interrupt him down, like, and I'll get down close to him, and I will remove my own mask.
Yeah, he looks into your face like, shocked.
You need to make this sound legitimate. And first I'm going to then I'll say unfortunately I will have to hit you, and I will like first just like backhand him and pulling this as light as I can. That's not good enough. And I will hit him again.
Totally.
And then I will do just like a little bit of that and rough him up a bit. And then the last thing I'll say is, I'm sorry, but she will want to see some blood. And I'm going to I think at that point I'm just going to ask him, just close your eyes. And then I'm going to just like rabbit punch him in the nose and hopefully get something coming out.
Yeah, boom. Yeah, immediately trickling down. Yeah. Oh. He looks at you and like you. Go ahead.
No. What does he do?
No, you can just see like the gratitude in his eyes, and he goes, "Thank you."
And I'll put his mask back on and straighten his robes out and open the door, and whoever the nearest like guards are to deal with it says, I think he's been adequately humbled. I will report to Lady Tallow, and then I will pass to them. I imagine this is like beyond, like this is, however, 20 years, 25 years, something like that.
Oh yeah, this is a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. You are now the head of her household, essentially.
Great. Fantastic.
And so one day during the peace and silence of your mastery of Lady Tallow's house, you're now what, in your early 50s?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Things just start getting a little bit misplaced. The first time a tuning fork you use to ring the supper chimes, which is fashioned of harmonious alabaster glass, is missing. Eventually you find it stuck into a roasted duck like a thermometer. The second time, it's a single receipt from an inconsequential purchase, a mask that happens to appropriate religious drow imagery, though of course the Aelfir don't care about that. You find it 2 days later in the fireplace. What is Molrogh's attitude during these disappearances?
This is really upsetting.
Yeah.
This is like, the work is like pride from Molrogh, certainly. And so when things go missing and he doesn't understand or know why or cannot find out, I think it has even resulted in maybe a frustrated like beating or two to figure out what's going on.
Totally. Yeah. There's a couple beatings. There's like some discussions, some hushed conversations, and
but like Lady Tallow cannot find out.
Oh yeah. She never does. Nobody finds out about it beyond you and the servants you trust.
Right.
You still don't find anybody. After another couple days, there's a quill on the desk that is pointing the wrong direction. It's usually going to. Oh wait, Jamie's laptop just restarted. We lost him for a second.
That's all right. Everybody assume. Lean over, Graham. Lean over, Ted. There you go.
There's a quill that normally is facing the right direction, right up. It is facing at like 60, 75 degrees. There's a little splash of ink that shouldn't be there. That splash of ink leads into another room to where there's a window, the tiniest bit cracked open. You head out into the garden, and there's a single strand of black string hanging from the branch of a sculpted tree. And there, beyond where that strand points, is a person. person wearing a dark hood.
This is making more sense now. I assume you're the one to thank for my days of uncertainty and frustration.
I apologize sincerely for that. Normally, I know I tell people that I have to stay quiet when I show up, sort of as a secret like this, but I imagine that won't be a problem for you. You're pretty quiet.
I'm discreet. There's a difference.
She steps forward out of the shadows. She's wearing the uniform of Lady Talow's servants. You haven't seen her the last few days. She removes the servant's mask, and her hair falls into her face. She is a gray-haired drow, not as old as you, younger, but she has lovely, harsh features and haunted eyes. She's lived a much more difficult life than you, at least in terms of the physical state of it. She says, "I'll walk out of here as soon as you want me to, but I would love it if you'd listen to me for just a minute."
You have 3 minutes.
That's generous. I can do it in 2. I have been watching you for 2 months now. Tried to learn a bit about you, though there's not much to learn. Where does a man like you come from? Where does he become what he is? She looks at you as you stand there with your mask on and your uniform, and a tear comes to her eye, and she says, "Mistress is hard. I've seen a lot of it. I've seen folk who've lost family, lost homes, lost limb. You know, I don't feel much anymore. I don't get weepy. I don't get mad. But you, I've seen you for weeks, laying out that silverware just perfectly, playing the 15-note sequence of the dinner chime. They've taken everything from you. They've taken your soul." She steps a little bit into the light and says, "What would you say? I told you you could win it all back."
You are quiet. But you need to be more discreet. Tell me where to be. I think I'd like to hear more.
And that is our prologue for Molrogh.
Ooh.
Carson, wow. Oh my gosh, I love him.
Radicalized.
What an art.
I'm radical.
Ooh, oh man. Oh, that's